United started off our day taking 2 above Weekend and the boys. We're going to move on to Splyce and CLG. Top manager, Ryan Bailey, and we're going to bring you the business as far as match 2 is concerned. Splyce and CLG, 2 different sides of the standings. CLG, I think, on paper was the team that was clearly number 1. And, well, they've had some struggles along the way.
They have, but they aren't eliminated from LAN quite yet, and that's the really important thing. If they're able to win out here, then they still put themselves in a pretty decent spot. Would still need a little bit of help. I believe they need Trifecta to lose 1 set if CLG wins out, but that would mean because CLG wins out that Trifecta would ultimately lose would lose 2 because they've got to play Space Station as well. But look, CLG still has an opportunity to make it, and I think that they totally can because this is a really, really talented team that, as you mentioned, looked like the best of the best off the beginning. But if they were 4-0, weren't they? They've gone 0-4 in their last 4.
It's been really rough for Counterlogic Gaming. I think a couple of things happened here. Trifecta surprised a lot of people and just turned up, as we say here in Atlanta. And United kind of fixed everything. That was a problem. And so these 2 teams kind of leapfrogged the standings. And CLG, Space Station, were just kind of like, all right, it's us and maybe Weekend's going to fight us. And then everybody closed their eyes. It's week 6, and Zapman stands up, and United are like, don't forget about us. And everybody is turned up for a surprise here. So
turned up for the weekend.
Surprise. Yeah, exactly.
You could say that easily.
You can absolutely say it.
I just did.
Right now, Aror and Splyce are trying to take on CLG. We've got a video. Splyce is a team that's going to consistently improve. They've got to look towards the later splits of summer and the fall. Obviously not headed to LAN here, but every time they come out, Aror and the boys seem to pick things up. It's a good team to latch onto if you're new to the league.
In Splyce, I said it last week, I believe. They really feel like potentially the best worst team in the league ever.
They are like Mouse's experienced uncle.
Sure, yeah, I guess I get where you're going with that because they both like to play weird stuff, but they're performing a little bit better with it. Exactly. Is kind of the takeaway there, I suppose. But you're right. They have the ability to throw weird stuff at the table and see if it's going to work, but then still be able to make it a little bit more normal, find their victories, most importantly, just not overall set victories. But this set's going to go 3 because Splyce is involved. That's nice and easy, right?
That's the rule.
Has to be.
That's what we've seen so far. Splyce and the guys have been really fun to watch. As you know, I said in the VO, I was like, you know what? Like, just if you're just interested in watching good Smite, I mean, this is a team to latch onto and be a fan of. They're great dudes. I love watching these guys play. Divios and TheBest did take a step away from the game and returned. And honestly, Ryan, I think the most impressive thing about this team was how unrusty, how fresh the Divios and TheBest looked like after they, like I said, took a step away from the competitive side of the match.
Completely agree with you. They've both looked really, really good here so far in Season 5. It's just the member that still needs to pick it up a little bit in my mind is CycloneSpin. His transition back to ADC, I know that might sound kind of weird, but yes, he did play ADC for a little bit on that NV roster, then went back to solo. It has not worked out quite yet. He was playing a bunch of warriors, and last week he plays nothing but Rom. This week, let's see if it's a hunter not named Rom. The baby steps.
What was interesting is that Splyce and CycloneSpin involved in this conversation. Splyce seemed to have thought-led the league, where a lot of their weird experimentation, they wind up not winning with it, but somebody else does. And CycloneSpin and Splyce were the first ones to say, you know what, everybody's trying to replace hunters. Let's just bring out Xbalanque and look for the super late game hunter. And now I think that's kind of the standard, is looking for the Artemises and those characters.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Xbalanque is still kind of on the shelf for most other teams. It feels like it has been mostly the Artemis and the Rom that have stepped up. So it was still on the right track there with the Rom that he was playing last week, but it wasn't really that. It didn't really pan out particularly well for him. I'm excited to see what he's going to pull out this week and how well he can perform on it.
Well, he's going to be playing against CLG, who are fighting for LAN. This team was great in the beginning, a little bit lukewarm in the middle, and now towards the end, they've got to be good. CLG are a great team. Homie and Hurry have combined to become one of the more dominant combos in the Smite Pro League. Here's the thing. This team, I think, is supposed to go to LAN. This team is supposed to be number 2. Some struggles they've had along the way. They have seen some holes in their armor. They've got to fight it out here in the last week if they want to make it to the spring LAN.
And with how good CLG was towards the beginning, it's unbelievable to me with how poorly their record has shown to be towards the backside. But I think a lot of it was North America stepping up their level of play, looking a little bit better. But also CLG seemed to lose their identity a little bit. They were trying out some weird stuff towards the beginning, and then it was working, and they were winning. And then towards the middle of the year, they kind of gave up mid-pressure a lot. They were picking a lot of stuff that didn't end up working out particularly well for them. Now I think CLG has recognized that, and it's a time for them to return to form. And I really think they will here today.
Yeah, you know, I'm actually you and I fight a lot because I think that the oddball picks aren't offensive. You want teams to play more normal.
Sure, most of the time, yes.
And I want teams to play what they're comfortable in. And sometimes that winds up being the oddball stuff, and I'm the guy that defends that. But I think that Counter Logic Gaming should play the normal stuff, not because it's objectively better, but because that's what they're better at piloting.
Yes, this is a very
traditional team.
That's the right word. I was going to go with vanilla, but it was a little bit too negative connotation because it really shouldn't be. CLG just plays good Smite. That's what they do. They like to do the same thing every game and end up with a victory because of it. And Homie is the kind of dude that is willing to pull out some interesting stuff. Hurriwind as well. That's the thing, is that they have this ability and kind of identity of playing that regular brand of Smite. And then you remember that Hurriwind's trying to play Rom mid from time to time, that Homie's trying to play Vamana jungle and that kind of stuff and have it work very, very well. So they aren't locked in to those roles. They have the flexibility to try other stuff, but maybe it's time for them to return to the norm and try and go back to their signature picks that they've been known for and kind of use the summer split in the beginning, in the gap between spring and summer, as their opportunity to find where they want to be otherwise. Because right now they can't afford to mess around anymore. They've got to find their wins right away.
Yeah, I mean, the Vamana jungle, I think, is a great example here when you talk about CLG, where Vamana jungle is odd because nobody plays it, but when you look at it, you go, all right, I mean, I guess it's just another warrior in the jungle. It's really not that big of a deal. So it's a little bit out of that comfort zone, but it's still very traditional with the grand scheme of things in mind. So Counter Logic Gaming versus Splyce. We'll take a look at the picks and bans right here. And what I want to see most notably is Homiefe on a character that he can win the game with. Counter Logic Gaming, of course, is a great team, but when Homiefe leads the charge and is the game pace setter, the pace car, if you will, that's really when CLG succeed.
I think a lot of people probably are sitting at home saying, well, of course, that's the jungler. The jungler is the most important role, as you failed to argue properly last episode of Esports Weekly. Of course, whenever Homie's playing well, your team's going to do well, but Homie really does feel like the heartbeat of this team a lot of the time. He has the capability to be that hard carry player, and there are times where we see it, there are times where we don't, but I think in Season 5 we're going to start to see it more and more again.
I think that Homie and fineokay are the beating heart and soul of Counter Logic Gaming. The other guys on the team perform very, very well, but I think that this unit is very lucky to have all 5 of their members. I think everybody's kind of important for their own reason, and Agni is very important for Splyce. TheBest has looked very strong on this Agni. The long-range setup that Best allows or pulls off with his choice makes this first pick, and this is Season 5 Smite here. Is Agni first pickable? Most teams say no. For Splyce, I say yes.
I think so. Splyce has historically this year really focused on picking Best gods very early, so this is kind of norm for them. Plus, Best has, during his entire career, he's been around since Season 0 in the Pro League. He's always been a dude who's going to play the exact same 3 gods. And those 3 gods go on rotation on what they're going to be, but in any given split, Best will have played 4 gods all split long, and Agni is just one of those gods in the rotation this year for Best, and he always plays those 3 to 4 gods incredibly well. That's not supposed to be a knock on him.
That's the key.
It's just that he is a predictable pick in the mid lane, and it doesn't seem to work against Splyce at all. He's been playing very well.
That's the fun part, is that usually when you're predictable, it's a hindrance, but you are just predicting that he's going to do well.
Yes.
It's kind of what happens here for TheBest in the middle lane for Splyce. Second round of bans coming out. CLG going to make sure to ban out that Naja. That's been very important for Splyce so far. The Circuit also off the table. Splyce, on the other hand, Dajian Soul.
Yeah, that's looking at Hurriwind in the mid lane. He's been playing a little bit more Soul recently, and of course Homie in the jungle with that Daji. And Cyclone goes back to the Rom yet again, continues to go for this pick, and it's seen more success this week, so hopefully Cyclone is able to emulate some of that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Cyclone is just a player that's, you know, warming up to the new position. Like you said, did flirt with it once upon a time, but really this is the first time that he's the true hunter for the team for an extended period of time. And they, like I said, they led first with their brains, and they weren't able to follow up with the brawn. And they said, we understand how to play the game. We bring out the late game hunters. And they lost, but they figured out that's how you win. Hopefully he can bring out the mechanics. Apollo returns here.
Mid.
CLG.
Mid. Apollo
no.
mid.
Oh, yes.
It's Apollo mid. Yep.
So
Could be Hachiman, but with Baskin doing all the dirty work in the mid lane with the Apollo last week, I will bet you this is Apollo mid.
And before we go to the casters, it's story time real quick, because context is key.
Should I get comfortable here?
No, it's a pretty quick one.
Okay,
actually.
cool, yeah.
Apollo mid was first tried by Hurriwind once upon a time. Oh, you're so adorable. And it didn't work. He was memed a lot. Like, really, really hard.
Yeah, it's true.
Baskin comes out last week. If you missed it, watch the VOD. His Apollo literally won the game.
Yeah, for free. It felt like Baskin just destroyed everybody by himself.
He just got ahead, was able to duel the 2v1s. Here is Hurriwind trying to make his response. I really hope this goes to the mid lane.
I hope so too. I hope so too. And I think it will be, because Hachiman, I mean, we saw played mid for Jigz there, but Apollo, for whatever reason, teams don't seem to like him in the dual lane very much, but he brings pressure in the mid. He can box incredibly well in the 1v1, and his level 1 isn't quite as important because he gets level 2 fairly quickly, and he's going to outtrade most mid laners. Agni could be an exception, but this is CLG just looking for mid pressure.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Will the Apollo, if he is mid, be good enough? That's a question I pose to our commentators. It's Taco, and it's Finch.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Ryan. Finch and Taco here. We are going into CLG versus Splyce Game 1. And the question here is, Taco, where is that Apollo going? You think it's going to be mid, just like TheBest does?
Me Hurriwind, me fly. I think that most people who know the reference for that are going to be probably expecting the same thing that TheBest was, and that I am as well, and that Apollo will most likely find his way in the mid lane. And we do have a poll, I believe, about this.
That's right. Who do you all think will win in Mixer Chat? Please vote for us so that we can know who you think will win. Personally, I'm very invested in knowing who you think will win. I'm up at night thinking about it all the time. I need to know.
Well, that's one way to look at things, Finch. But I think that it's fun, though. Seeing these teams try out a lot of these double hunter compositions again, we're starting to see that resurgence. And we were talking about it even, and that Ikaival, I think, is one of the main reasons why we're starting to see hunters starting to come back into things.
I agree with you, Taco, as we are ready to move into Game 1. The item really smooths out the hunter's curve a lot. Usually we see it picked up in that third slot right after boots. And it is going to be Hurriwind taking that Apollo into the mid lane. So we'll get to see him try and fight up against TheBest on a regular mage in the mid lane. Apparently TheBest did not get the memo.
And no, all jokes aside, though, about this Apollo mid, one of the reasons why he's not as favorable in the dual lane is because he doesn't have the pressure that you'd usually be looking for in the 2v2 situation, but in a 1v1, having that passive that increases his auto attack speed, it is so wonderful to have, because you're usually putting in enough irrelevant damage against the wave that you can clear before your opponent, even against the Agni. And this is also going to depend on what Best chooses for his first ability. Every now and then you see Agni's not opting for that dash, and although it's possible, it's still more likely that Best will have it.
You talked a little bit about Apollo's passive there, as we see CLG win the poll there at home, so everyone thinks CLG will take it. I believe it's called Audacity, but Flame Wave is what TheBest took as well. But we do, it's called Audacity, but I think it should be called Obnoxious. It is so difficult trying to fight into an Apollo when he's got all that extra attack speed coming through. And in the 1v1 in particular, it's going to be very strong for him. There's a lot in Apollo's kit that makes him strong. And Aror, he does not have a lot in his health bar right now, and he is on the retreat, being chased now by the sprint, and fineokay dashing through as well. fineokay is all the way over here helping to gank on Aror, now teleporting back to lane, and the body blocks coming out from Jigz as well. What a play. They don't find the kill, but they pressure out Aror significantly.
And check out Hurriwind. He's got the pressure in mid. Won't be able to connect with every single one of those in-hands like he probably wanted to, but still perfect pressure, exactly what you're looking for, although the same thing is going to happen here against CLG as they now have to try and defend their blue buff.
It's going to be tough. fineokay on this Artio is a little bit difficult to box into. Homie already very low, forced to retreat out. They're going to let fineokay continue to duke it out in the solo lane as Agni dashes there in mid. They're going to now come towards this blue buff is Cyno. getting back on track towards the invade, but instead drops it. They want to come back and put more damage into fineokay, who is going to be looking for the root and for the heal. Going to catch them both with it and try and force them back. Blink comes out for Homie, putting a bunch of damage on the Cyno, and the problem is now Hurriwind with the So Beautiful can rotate in. First blood goes to CLG. Homie going to take the last hit.
Somehow, Homie manages to find it in all of that chaos. I thought for sure Hurriwind was going to be able to secure it off of the So Beautiful and the in-hands. I like this play from Best, though. Recognizes that Hurriwind had to invest in the rotation and doesn't want to miss out on the wave.
This could be trouble, though, Taco.
But it could be trouble as Jigz jumping over the wall, spots out Best, and Best going to get cut off.
And now comes the in-hands from Hurriwind. There's nowhere for Best to go. Hurriwind finds the last shot, puts him down, even though the right call was to go for the invade. It was too much pressure in duo. Jigz and Snoopy rotate over and punish him.
And this is the exact start that you don't want to see if you're a Splyce fan back at home. Best taking an early spill like that means that Hurriwind's going to have the pressure a Hunter probably shouldn't against the Agni, but I like the Apollo for this reason. Those additional auto attacks, the primary reason why Hurriwind was able to out-clear Best initially. And on top of all that, having so much rotational ability is going to be something that Splyce have to constantly keep in the back of their mind if they wanted to look for any potential invades.
Now, the experience is still in favor of the Best. It looks like he's level 4 and Hurriwind is only level 3. So the rotation did hurt Hurriwind a bit as he just now catches back up with him, but still getting the kill early on, helping out in the solo and the duo lane. They've been able to affect the whole map already, and we're not even at the 3-minute mark yet.
Hurriwind also doesn't have to invest too much mana to clear, unlike Best, who's going to need a little bit more of it since he is a mage. But that Hunter's Blessing, all that MP5 is just helping Hurriwind so that he doesn't have to back until maybe even finishing off the Devourer's Gauntlet.
Homie is here. Divios, still relatively safe, has plenty of room to get back towards the tower line, but he's going to take a lot of poke to get it done. Root lands as well, but no real follow-up as he continues to box it out with fineokay and Homie. But as we're looking back at the solo lane, remember, this is what Splyce's response was to that start by CLG, where fineokay was in solo and they had a bit of pressure in mid. They brought over Cyno as well, and Divios, they tried to look for that blue buff invade, Taco.
And this is still a nightmare for Divios because they weren't able to find the blue buff, and actually Divios, or Cyno, excuse me, was the person who fell. So having your jungler die so early on, and a warrior jungle at that, that's the relevant part here, is that normally when a jungler dies as an assassin, you're like, okay, this sucks, but we can bounce back from it. But warriors are much less forgiving on those early deaths, and up against the Camazotz as well, Homiefe is probably going to continue to try and abuse some of that early game damage that you have on a Camazotz. And on top of all that, Divios doesn't get the full control of the solo lane like he probably envisioned he would have as Achilles.
Now, backing up a little bit, giving some space over to fineokay after that interesting start. It goes the way of CLG, or at least it has here for them so far. Another big part of why they weren't able to get that blue buff, Artio has so much sustain early on, especially off that 3, able to hit both of them with it, get plenty of health back. It really helped when fineokay and Homie were trading back out in the jungle, and Divios and Cyno couldn't keep up.
And you know what? I love the small technical plays that happened before fineokay even made it back to the lane. Jigz body blocking 2 or 3 autos actually helps out a lot more than you would think, because those might only be 40 to 60 damage a shot, but it's still enough poke potential against an Artio from the level 1 stage that fineokay might not have been able to help contest the blue buff in that way and buy as much time for Hurriwind to rotate over had Jigz not done that.
And this is the kind of innovation that I'm glad we're seeing from CLG. I mean, how many other SPL teams have we seen throw the solo lane over to the duo at the start and then teleport back in? I mean, I'm not saying that they're inventing everything right now, but certainly it's not something we see a whole lot. And it's what you expect to see from a team that we're all expecting. I mean, this is the core of the old SOAR roster that was top in North America to be a top 2 or 3 team, and that's how you get it done.
CLG already need help as it is if they want to find themselves qualifying for LAN, and so they know this has to be perfect execution, and so far they've managed to accomplish it, but don't want to get ahead of myself so soon. Caster's Curse is almost always applicable, and on top of that, we're only approaching the 6-minute mark, so it's certainly not all gloom and doom quite yet for Splyce.
Yeah, can you imagine your LAN ticket on the line and you make a call like that to start the game off as fineokay is in trouble over in the solo lane? Cyno's going to take a look at the blue buff, and Homie going to respond by coming down, but their blue buff is not there. Homie's not going to be able to steal it. And instead, Cyno going to be able to drop without any trouble. Now going to come in for the collapse, but Homie will be on the backside. Taunt comes out. fineokay gets pulled back in, lands the stun, the damage. All of it's going to go on to Divios, who's forced to ultimate away. Not going to be able to find the XC for damage. They're going to continue to aggress their CLG, but Auror's going to come in on the backside, bad out of hell, doing a ton of damage, but has to use it to escape. Auror not going to be here in time to impact. Drops the Dharmic Pillars, but Divios is coming back in. They want to keep looking for the fight. Homie gets chunked, but no more follow-up from Divios. CLG make it out.
Homie didn't have that jump quite yet ready. He used it earlier for sustain against Cyno and into the wave. But Best now gonna get a huge amount of poke out of that. So beautiful. Perfect hammer stun by Jigz, and Hurriwind with the super easy follow-up on that in-hand. Not gonna miss out on this one. And Best is just not having the time of his life right now in the mid lane. I love the recognition from CLG there. They see Aror in the solo lane. Might as well throw Jigz into mid and see what happens.
I stood up, Taco, put my hands over my the hand like over your eyes, like looking around, trying to see where Best went just now, but he got deleted in the mid lane. It was a huge hammer from Jigz, followed up with the jump. It was too much damage. Really nothing Best could do once he got hit by the initial hammer stun. And I'm not sure if he had the beads available at that time or not. They're available now. I don't think he expected it to be that much damage.
I don't think he was expecting the So Beautiful to hurt nearly as much as it did. Now sitting at level 9, Hurriwind could possibly have it fully maxed out.
Right.
Before at 7. See, that's the thing. He had it at 4 points, which is more than enough damage to tear away at a mage so early on. You don't have the largest health bar on these magical gods, as Hurriwind going to do a nice job avoiding the Agni bomb stun. But it is going to open up the doorway for Cyno and Aror to take a little bit of CLG's farm.
Gonna meet up with Homie here in the jungle. Taunt comes out, but bad out of hell in response keeps him from getting controlled. This has been a continual presence from Cyno in particular here in the jungle of CLG to try and strip away the blue, strip away that farm, and it's hurting fineokay in particular. Is it gonna be enough though, Taco, this pressure from Cyno, as Cyclone gets heavily outboxed by the Hachiman?
One more auto attack and Snoopy would have killed him with the mounted archery. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
And that is still all the pressure that Snoopy needs in this lane. I love the aggressive boards as well from CLG. Cyclone thought that Snoopy would be taking his purple. He could have probably stolen it with those snipes, or at least forced a reset from Snoopy. But we'll be able to defend it thanks to Auror's rotation. Actually cancel that because Homiefe is just going to steal it with the Screech instead.
So Homie comes in, steals the purple buff. The big news there for me, at least on CycloneSpin's part, is that ultimate's kind of a safety factor for Ram. Gets him up out of combat, a chance to get the roll back off cooldown, or maybe even teammates to rotate in. Won't have that for a while. If Snoopy can find some more poke, he certainly can punish this Ram.
And Snoopy still hasn't had a chance to back for full boots. He's going to stick around for one more wave, and that should give Cyclone enough time to make it back so he doesn't really miss out on any creep XP.
I do want to ask you a little bit about the best here, though. Going for the Book of Thoth, we a lot of the time see the Warlock staff starts. Could that be lowering that kill threshold a little bit for Hurriwind and Jigz? Maybe that's why it seemed like it did so much damage in mid lane. He's not as healthy as we normally see them be this early.
We're very used to seeing mages with a large amount of health because of that Warlock staff.
Right.
And it wouldn't have been at the evolve stage either this early on, but I do think that it might have contributed to a little bit more protection. Speaking of which, Jigz probably hoping he had some more to offer. Dharmic Pillars, though, not going to end up finding the kill that Splyce were looking for in the mid lane, but it does mean that Jigz will be backing in a 2v3 contest. Well, Splyce has been all over CLG's jungle as is, and I can only imagine they're going to try and keep it up.
We clearly can see the combo beginning to form, though, from Splyce. The taunt into that Dharmic Pillar, specifically onto the field where all the damage is, was really strong against Jigz. Chunked him, forced him to jump away. If that's a squishier target, it could be an easy kill. fineokay, though, going to continue to trade with Divios, lands the stun, and up in the air with the across the sky was Hurriwind. He lands in, but no real chance to find any more damage. That ultimate's down. He didn't have anything to do in mid lane anyway, though, Taco, and came over to see if he could find the kill. This could be trouble for Cyclone, though. Finds the stun, still has the ultimate available if he wants it, but it's only going to bring him right back down into more damage. On their way is TheBest to try and rotate to this if he can make it in time.
He's probably dead upon arrival, though. Mounted archery will be the end of it, but Snoopy does take a spill of his own in return. Best investing the Flame Dash, though, is going to end up dying to Hurriwind, and that's going to be the play that CLG need to execute on because it's a Gold Fury.
They go right to the Gold Fury. The Audacity passive mixed with Coerce is going to be tons of damage onto this Gold Fury early. Cyno and Aurora here. This will not be free. Dragonic Corruption comes out. Jigz is committing to this. Dharmic Pillars dropped as well, and Cyno uses the beads to try and knock up onto Hurriwind, and it works. Hurriwind falls immediately. Cyno is low. He gets traded out. Jigz is the one that finds that last hit. Gold Fury has been dropped, but the fight going the way of CLG. Gold Fury, you can use her body blocks, but you can't body block the breath. Homie finds another kill now. 2 for 1 in favor of CLG.
Still respecting the steal potential, though, on the Gold Fury, because I think a Camazotz and a Fafnir is more than enough damage to still secure that objective this early on. But with CycloneSpin having respawned, and they knew he would be rotating over just to make sure that that Gold Fury doesn't end up in Counter Logic Gaming's hands so soon.
Gold Fury not going down there is going to slow CLG down a bit, but Splyce do have to commit a lot onto it to make sure that that does not end up happening. In the end, though, it's really only about 1,000 gold lead or so in CLG's favor here as we approach the 12-minute mark. Nothing too tremendous. It's going to be helping them out, but we've seen them get the kills and Splyce respond with the pressure in the jungle. That's how they've kept this even.
For Splyce, though, it's been all about the defensive responses. They have not been able to play it as aggressive as they were probably looking for. Whenever you go for the warrior jungle, you're the one who wants to be starting the initiations, and we have not seen that so far from Cyno. A lot of the attempts he's made have been quickly thwarted because of the rotational speed that Hurriwind's able to bring.
Hurriwind's been able to get around the map so quickly. We didn't see a whole lot come from it from that kill or from the rotation to solo, but was able to rotate back in and help out at least with finding the return kill for Snoopy's benefit when he committed there on the CycloneSpin. As they can solo laners continue to box it out. Cyno's here yet again. Cyno's been spending a lot of time on the solo side of the map. I mean, can you really keep an Artio down?
But can you really pressure anybody else on the map? You've got...
Maybe Snoopy.
Hurriwind has the Mez, so he'll easily run away. Snoopy's got mounted archery in case he does end up getting pinned down by Erlang. And right now, CLG, they might have the Gold Fury. No one from Splyce even aware that this is happening. And by the time they find out, it's going to be too late, as everyone from CLG is already out.
Add a little bit more gold to the chests for CLG. After that, take them up to a 1,500 gold lead. Experience still relatively even, but a sharp spike down for CLG after that Gold Fury. Things were very even really up to that point. The Gold Fury helped out a good bit to get them a little bit further out in front, but Splyce had done a good job sticking around. So beautiful chunking. Even Cyno at this point. The damage from Hurriwind is absolutely no joke.
And check it out, both of these hunters, I think, have the same vision in mind, where they're all just looking for that Archival.
It's a good item right now. Already been picked up by CycloneSpin, Snoopy, and Hurriwind. Certainly going to join that party. Makes it so much easier for them to trade. Gives just about everything that a physical hunter really wants kind of in that one item with the attack speed, with the penetration as well. I benefit a lot from it.
I still think that Atalanta's bow is a slept-on item.
It's good. I agree.
I think it's a phenomenal item, and you'd be surprised how much it feels like Fatalis. I think the...
Would you put it in that third slot?
I would put it in the third slot, but I think that's where things get a little bit awkward for it, is that with Archival now being a pretty ideal third item pickup, it's just hard to justify the gold investment difference for the two things. It mostly just depends, I think, on player preference and play style.
It's so cost effective here at this point, so you can kind of get why maybe the Atalanta's bow is not picked up as much as all of our hunters have elected to go into the Archival. Seeing a little bit of difference, though, in the boots pathing. No real need for the attack speed boots or Hurriwind with the Audacity passive, I imagine. So instead going for the Warrior tab by as opposed to everyone else, who certainly want a little bit of extra help in the attack speed department.
Now, here's something I do want to see, though, because we've actually been seeing a lot of double executioners from these double hunter compositions. I would prefer it if one hunter went for the executioner and then the other hunter went for the chin size and built, so you can have a healthy blend of the auto attack base build with the penetration and then maybe even the crit options, because it doesn't seem as though Splyce are really prioritizing Thorns, and that would mean that one of these hunters from CLG could opt for the crit-based build, and you don't need two executioners because you should ideally be target focusing a little bit better in competitive play, and so your target should almost always be the same person.
Up in the air is Hurriwind. They're looking for this gank here in the middle lane. They've got a chance to find it. Good damage that they put into TheBest, who's forced to use the Aegis just to escape. Dharmic Pillars comes out in response, and very, very low is Cyno. He ends up having to retreat back to the tower line as well. Now the collapse is coming onto Aror. Every member who gets stuck gets collapsed on Aror falls. Homie finds the last hit in TheBest, and Cyno are forced to retreat. Now they can turn their attention towards the tier 1 tower in mid lane, but the collapse, the ultimate from Hurriwind, just too strong.
And this isn't Splyce's T1 tower any longer. Divios trying to make a last stand underneath it, but it's going to prove to not be useful at all, as now he'll have to use that Fatal Strike to get out of the poke potential from CLG. They were still pushing strong, but don't want to overextend their welcome in that mid lane. They are going to fall back after securing the T1 tower, recognizing that there weren't any more picks to be had, and Snoopy, well, he doesn't have a wave, so he won't be able to find that T1 in duo quite yet either.
And what a strong call from CLG, Taco. It was initially Splyce who had the strong grouping in the mid lane. I think it was Jigz, Best, and Cyno who were all there. And it looks like they had a chance to try and get the collapse onto Jigz, but instead, Hurriwind ults in. fineokay is rotating on the backside of that fight as well, and they're able to start get TheBest low first, then one more, then finally find the kill into Aror. It was just a perfect collapse from CLG.
And I think one of the problems Splyce is also encountering right now is that a lot of their damage for the early game is pretty melee dependent, as in a lot of the gods have to be close if they want to get off their kits, looking mostly towards Cyno. Meanwhile, Homiefe as like poke potential from a range. And
right.
I think that is a lot more valuable right now when you're running the double hunters, because you don't have to get too close in order to deal your damage. And Hurriwind has really been abusing this aspect as well. I think that he's had a lot of great So Beautifuls, and even using that dash to serve as a bit of a way to charge his Audacity meter.
Divios still hasn't selected his second relic, it looked like, yet, so we'll be electing to see what he picks up when he backs. But level 16, could have bought it at any point now. Still not sure what he wants. There it is. Going to go with the horrific emblem. So you highlighted this earlier, Taco, a chance now for our hunters to potentially go crit.
It's a tough call to make. I totally understand, because an upgraded horrific emblem really reduces the attack speed potential, and both Apollo and Hachiman are attack speed related gods. Speaking of which, Cyno going to dash right in. Dharmic Pillars dropped right on top, and
perfect.
Best is going to take out Hurriwind in an instant. Nothing for Jigz to do except stare.
Too much damage from the Rainfire. Perfectly clean initiation there from Splyce, actually, in the mid lane. Cyno having to use the blink to get it done, but Hurriwind taking a seat. They're going to help this Splyce team out a lot. Now they're aggressing further into the jungle of CLG, or at least a little bit. They're not ready to look at the Gold Fury yet themselves, so they take their clean kill onto Hurriwind. They back off.
And I like this. It wasn't the Executioner and the chin size that we were looking for, but it is the Aussie with the Executioner. And now Splyce really trying to take advantage of the 4v5. They're already pulling the Gold Fury. Full investment.
Wow.
They're going to find it. And Jigz and the rest of the CLG are trying to collapse.
Now it's time for the fight. Homie's up in the air with the bat out of hell, and Cyno is the call as he ends up having to break off on his own. A chance for Divios to rotate on the backside of this, but the turtle is going to get Cyno away, and now they have to overcommit to CLG if they want to find this last kill. Instead, it's only fineokay looking for this kill, while the rest of the team collapse on the Divios. He has to use the Fatal Strike to try and get away, and now fineokay almost dies just to the Rainfire. Up into the air with CycloneSpin, and he's looking for the shots, but he comes right back down. Has to use the Aegis just to try and survive. Divios is low as well, finds a stone over the wall, but not enough damage. CLG now on the retreat.
That felt accidental, to break off the Astral Barrage so soon, when he probably could have confirmed the kill onto fineokay with how low he was. Speaking of which, though, Snoopy's still looking for more. Tries to find Best on the backside. Is going to end up getting picked off by Cyno instead.
Gets deleted. Dharmic Pillars committed there onto Homie, and with Divios right here in tow, they're not done yet, are the Splyce roster. Stun lands on the Homie. The silence is coming out as well. Now the pin into the two-man taunt. Ton of damage on the Homiefe, and it's more than he can handle. Cyno finds yet another kill. 3, 2, and 1 is the jungler for Splyce. They turn back towards the red buff as Divios is very low, and all the while, Cyclone is taking the Pyromancer.
Great job by Cyclone as well to spread the map so effectively. Best gonna try and help his boy out here with those bomb stuns, and they will be able to secure it. Thought for a moment that fineokay had actually stolen it with the Artio, and Splyce probably a little bit relieved to know that they were able to secure the Pyromancer. And talk about a shift as well. That did not look like a very promising situation for Splyce, but the fact that they were all able to disengage and actually make it out is the primary reason why CLG end up flopping there a little bit. They invested so much in that dive and the overcommit that they were just really out of position by the time they started to reset, which gave Splyce all the time in the world to look for a red buff invade, look for the tower in mid, and also get that Pyromancer.
And fineokay went really far away from the rest of the team, I felt like. Divios comes in on the backside. The rest of CLG collapsed there, but fineokay keeps chasing almost up to the tier 2 tower and gets collapsed on. A chance for that to happen yet again. Dharmic Pillars and the Ohm to cut off the escape. Perfect play here from Aror, but the best on the backside gets blown up by Homie and ends up being a 1-for-1. It's too much damage out of the bat. Hurriwind is up in the air, and now he's down on the ground. Damage goes into Divios, who's forced to retreat. Stun lands on Aror, and Hurriwind comes in with the rest of the damage. Bat out of hell, gonna get it done. The last in hand coming the way of the mid laner. 3-man top from Cyno, but it's too little too late. CLG take the fight 2-for-1.
Cyno, though, does manage to pull the Aegis out of Hurriwind, so that's promising, but this T1 tower in solo had no chance of survival. Snoopy, having made the rotation as well, means that CLG aren't ready to be done with their siege just yet. They're still looking for this T2, possibly even more. They might have an opportunity to pull the Fire Giant, considering how quickly they were able to drop this T2 tower, and with 2 Hunters and a Fafnir, that's exactly the kind of spot you'd want to be in if you're looking for an early game FG.
And we talk about how good Fafnir is at accelerating attack speed. So is Hachiman. Between the Hachiman, the Fafnir, and the Audacity from the Apollo, they have so much attack speed, and they're able to shred these objectives very easily. Homie, again, rotating in on the squishies. This time it's Cyclone, but takes a lot more damage in return than he really ended up giving out. The root's going to land on Divios now. The collapse is on. Rainfire over the top, though, is going to look for some damage, but Hurriwind finds Divios before it's too late. CycloneSpin can't find the shots, but he can! Homie's done, and now he rotates out. Dharmic Pillar's going to come from Aurora to shut off the escape, but no one told Cyno to retreat. He's continuing to look for Snoopy, and he finds him.
Cyno, great job there with the rotation. Despite having died, as soon as he was able to make it back, CLG just cannot finish off that fight in the way they're probably hoping for. I think Homie needed to just stand in place. Cyclone had no vision on him, which is why we didn't see the first shot for a while, because he wasn't sure where to aim it at. Lost sight of Homie completely thanks to that foliage in the jungle, and had Homie stayed put, I think that he would have ended up surviving, and not only that, but also probably getting some sustain off. That way he could come back into the fight, and just a little unfortunate there for kind of logic that they came up short.
It's good for Splyce, though. They needed to stop them from getting that Fire Giant, and that's what they do. The fight still feels like it goes the way of CLG, but at least the objective does not. We're still about another 18 seconds from this Gold Fury spawning. Splyce are here, and they control the vision thanks to these oracles, so they'll certainly be in position. But all 5 members of CLG are alive. It'll just be another minute or another moment before Snoopy's able to walk all the way over here.
Well, so far, both of the Gold Furies that have been dropped this game came uncontested, which is pretty surprising if you ask me. Normally, you'd anticipate that the teams would brawl with each other, but now Splyce, they're done waiting. They're going to pull this right away.
And look how much damage they're putting into it already. The Rainfire comes out. Splyce are able to take the Gold Fury, and now again they're on the retreat, but the damage from Homie continues to be insane. The crits from CycloneSpin is enough to bring the bat very low, but using the bat out of hell, he finds TheBest, and now he retreats. On the right-hand side, looking for the snipes. fineokay finds Cyno, but CycloneSpin finds Homie in return. Trying to return to the team fight. Can't even get away. Divios with the ultimate. Aurora gets locked down as well. Jigz finds another one. 4 members of Splyce have fallen. Beads come out from CycloneSpin to try and keep himself alive, but it's not going to be enough. CLG continue to barrel down the duo lane. They want him, but they can't find him.
Cyclone ready to take his last stand underneath his Phoenix, but thinking better of it. Jigz still running around in that draconic form is going to be enough to dissuade just about anybody, I would say, from trying to take up their stand.
Look
even
where
with the help
Snoopy
of
is already.
Phoenix.
They're coming around the Fire Giant pit. Do they want to try and get this one started? That's going to be the question. He's clearing the wards, Taco. And yes, they're already pulling the Fire Giant. They take the fight around the Gold Fury pit. They don't get that one, but they're going to get the much bigger objective for themselves.
They should be perfectly fine to secure this also. Snoopy going to take a little bit of poke because Fire Giant does hurt quite a lot now as Hurriwind gets knocked up. FG not dropping as quickly as you'd probably expect because neither of these hunters have crit in their build.
They waited to wait and make sure that Homie was able to grab it too there, Taco, and he does. So now the Fire Giant's going to be on all 5 members. CycloneSpin, remember, he used the ultimate in that last fight and did find, I believe, the kill on the Homie, but not going to be able to use it to contest now. But what went so wrong for Splyce? They got the Gold Fury.
They got the Gold Fury, but they used everything to do it. Best dropped, I believe, all 3 of his bombs just to make sure that they could secure it. And as far as objective secure is concerned, Splyce definitely had the upper hand thanks to having a mage as their mid laner. It's just that they weren't able to disengage as cleanly as they did on that first Gold Fury they found. And because of that, Divios also, I think, went a little above and beyond there, where he found a really nice pick, or helped Cyclone get a really nice pick onto Homiefe, but it also came at the expense of his life. And I think that Divios has played way too important of a role here this game in being the main deterrence factor as far as separating the fight into two different segments. And when CLG is able to stay fully grouped, I don't think that Splyce can really afford to fight into it.
And you talked about whether or not TheBest had his bombs still available. I don't know if it would have mattered. Homie blinks on him and finds so much burst on him right away. Even though Cyclone hits a couple big shots on him, he goes up into the bat out of hell, finds the kill, and is able to retreat and even sustain back up a good bit. Homie gets that early pick on Best and shuts down all their range damage.
Also, someone took out the shell health on Best. I don't know if Homie just waited for that to be over, and because you're up in the air for a long time in that bat out of hell. It's one of the best parts about it is that you can typically wait out the duration of an Aegis, but he waited out the duration of the shell, or someone from CLG took it out, and Best just could not survive.
Best ends up falling, and now CLG have taken all the tier 2 towers off the map, at least on Splyce's side of things. And they've grouped up around the Phoenix on the left-hand side. But going in is Cyno, pulling him into the Dharmic Pillars and into the Rain Fire. The target, though, is fineokay. They end up killing him, but it takes a huge commitment. Hurriwind takes down Cyno in response. Crits coming in onto Jigz and onto Snoopy. CycloneSpin is swinging if he can just find the targets.
Cyclone has a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And it's because he went for the crit, the Poison Star and the Deathbringer, and Rama is all about that late game. And sure, it might not be 45 minutes in, but he's still full build at the 27-minute mark, and CLG is still trying to siege against it.
Hurriwind doing plenty of damage as well. Aror is the one that takes it. Homie yet again is blinking in, but this time it's on the Cyclone, who's not even going to be able to make it back to the fountain. The Across the Sky comes out, but not even needed. Instead, they come back, and now the collapse is on, and Divios is the target. Phoenix on the left-hand side is down. Aegis has to come from Hurriwind to keep him alive through the Rain Fire. That's coming from TheBest. But they got the objective they were looking for, and now they can come back towards the mid-Phoenix. It's 4v3.
They might take them a little bit longer on the Fire Giant, but these Phoenixes might not go the same way, although Jigz getting controlled pretty heavily here. Nice job by Aror, forcing that Fafnir to leap away. However, Hurriwind and Snoopy still trying to chunk at this Phoenix, and Divios gonna eat way too much damage trying to defend against those autos.
fineokay comes in the left side, and he's gonna go into TheBest and try and force him away. Phoenix falls, and continually getting pressured by the bear. Hurriwind finds Cyno, forced to retreat now is Aror, as CLG continues to barrel down. It was fineokay who was missing, but he teleported back in. All 5 members of CLG are here, and they're looking plenty healthy to me. Phoenix now on the solo side of the map is also gonna come tumbling down. No structure stand between CLG and their enemy Titan. They look strong.
And that was perfect for CLG as well, because Fire Giant's about to wear off anyway, and to get all 3 Phoenixes off of your first Fire Giant shove, it is just incredible. It hardly ever happens that way, especially not at a competitive level. So CLG just doing the necessary execution. It's because they were finding picks underneath the first 2 Phoenixes, so staggering the respawn timers out of Splyce was constantly forcing the 4v5, and it's just such a stressful thing to try and combat into that eventually you're just going to get worn down by this double hunter composition, and that's exactly what we saw happening. Jigz, as soon as he coerced Snoopy and Hurriwind, made it practically impossible for CLG to not get those Phoenixes.
And remember how they started the fight. Cyno, I believe he used the blink, but either way, he initiates on the fineokay, and the combo we've seen all game long came out. The Dharmic Pillars and the Rain Fire from TheBest were put down, but it took so much of a commitment to kill the fineokay at this point with how tanky he is that Cyno ends up getting traded, and they didn't have a lot of their key cooldowns to try and fight into the rest of CLG when they came in for their push. The commitment was good, but maybe not to the target they wanted.
And that's probably one of the downsides as well of having an Achilles on your team. Achilles is great when you're looking for damage. He can do plenty of that, but
sure,
as far as peel is concerned, you're not looking for peel. Your whole mentality is, if I kill them before they can kill me, we're in the clear, guys.
Hope you guys are okay. I'll be in the back line doing damage. I will not be peeling, however, is what Achilles is saying. He's just looking for trying to get some damage onto likely Hurriwind and Snoopy. But in that fight, it just did not end up being very relevant for them. Fire Giant now goes the way of CLG. They're all 6 slotted, or just about at this point, are the boys of CLG, and they are ready to come barreling down towards the base of Splyce. Taco Splice is going to defend. I mean, who is it going to be? TheBest, Aror. We've seen their combo. Can it be enough?
Well, here's the problem. Even if you're successfully defending and keeping CLG shoved out of your Titan room, you still have 2 lanes of fire creeps to worry about.
That's true.
You can't watch every single lane during these kind of sieges. It's just way too chaotic, and most likely what'll end up happening, it'll just become a war of attrition where CLG are just going to keep poking and poking and poking, and all those fire creeps are just going to keep shoving right back in. And the moment that Splyce sends somebody to clear out those minions, that's going to be when they lose the team fight.
And look how many towers are left up for CLG anyway. Even if Splyce wins a fight, it's going to be a lot of work for them to eventually finish this game off. As Fireman is now pushing down on left-hand side. This is where the first Phoenix is going to respawn. I believe it's why CLG are grouping. Cyno blinks in again, goes for the ultimate, but no follow-up this time. A lot of key cooldowns already down for the jungler for Splyce. Some minions already making it into the Titan room and forcing the attention of Splyce back towards their Titan right when the Phoenix on the left-hand side is respawning.
Cyclone's been somebody doing most of the damage, though. The left Phoenix already going to fall as quickly as it came back up again. Astral Barrage being used and the calamity of it all, but Hurriwind's still going to make it out with the skin of his teeth.
Too much damage coming out from Homiefe. That's going to set up a couple kills there for Hurriwind, who goes up looking for the across the sky and takes down Best. Snoopy finds himself a double kill, full-blown deicide coming out for CLG. That means now they can move into the Titan room and take game 1 up against Splyce. You might have expected it, but CLG, they look clean.
That was a perfect execution of their draft. They knew exactly what they were looking for in every single one of those team fighting moments. I think the only real parts where things started getting a bit messy was they seemed a bit unsure of themselves of what they should do as soon as Splyce secured that first gold Fury. And that, I think, was CLG kind of getting ahead of themselves. But they made sure to reel it back in, use some of that player discipline. And once they started target focusing again, it was just chaos for Splyce.
Well, go ahead and vote for us. Who was the MVP in Game 1? You have a lot of strong picks to try and make, though. Homiefe looked great. My money, though, probably on Hurriwind on that Apollo. How excellent did he look almost from minute 1, Taco?
Well, there's no me Hurriwind, me fly situations. That's one thing that's for sure. Full redemption if you are Hurriwind.
A little bit of redemption. I agree there for the mid laner. For CLG, but Splyce, they're the team of always going to 3 games. I don't know if all the work is done here for CLG just yet. Let's go ahead and get over to the desk. They'll break it down for us.
Me Hurriwind, me Frack. Much different scenario this time around. Actually, the same scenario, different outcome. You know, it's funny, somebody pointed out to me on Twitter, it was actually Barracuda's old coach, Quintaj. The last time when Hurriwind played that Apollo, it was against TheBest.
No, that's a good point. And this time it works out very, very well for CLG's mid. Look, Jigz had a great game as well. He was consistently setting up for Hurriwind, but Hurriwind's rotations around the map, utilizing that Apollo ultimate, early objective focus, the structure damage tells a great story. 19.9K from CLG sounds insane, just impossible nearly. And that double hunter makes it possible.
Really clean stuff, and the Apollo mid is very interesting. It's one of these. I think that's the type of jank that if you're picking weird stuff just to pick it, don't call me up. But putting the Apollo in the middle lane makes that ultimate. He can make those rotations to left and right. Everything kind of makes sense with this character, and also Apollo is kind of one of the best characters when it comes down to like using a lead. He really abused the lead, and Hurriwind went ahead and got that and also snagged himself MVP.
Well deserved. Played very well. You're right. It's just about pressure in the mid lane is so important right now. Apollo can bring that. Hunters just inherently have better early level 1 or 2s than most mages do. So that's why you're starting to see a little bit more of these hunters in the mid lane, despite mages being super OP, Tom.
Sure.
It's all they are. OP, all of them. Mages, too good. Well, a couple hunters so far in the mid lane have been making the difference.
My co-commentator is so incredibly salty all the time. Here's a replay of when TheBest got blown up.
Finch actually did that. That's such a good replay. Well done. Well done.
And the Apollo just really just making a mess. 9 kills in total for Hurriwind, and just fun stuff to watch. Really entertaining, and perhaps most importantly, when I was making fun of you for being salty, it's really just about the difference in scenario, right? For a different composition against a different composition, maybe we see the mage. This time around, it's the Apollo.
It's just all about pressure right now for CLG in that mid lane. I got to give credit where it's due. Splyce had a pretty solid game. They almost made that comeback a little bit before 20 minutes. They find that pick onto Hurriwind because his relics were still down. They head towards the Gold Fury, get that, and I was sitting there thinking Splyce is going to come back and win this one potentially, but CLG just play a little bit too well. Jigz in particular had an excellent game, but CycloneSpin played well on the ROM, had lots of good cleanup snipes in that game. Had that one kind of awkward one between Tier 1 and Tier 2 where he cancels a little bit early, but overall, a better performance from CycloneSpin, and Splyce had a real shot at winning because of it.
And they